A
Go ahead,
motion
Pete.
to postpone indefinitely usually means the item just gets placed on the next agenda. So it's not doesn't mean it's just floating out there in no man's land.
Okay. So motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
We do have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday, do we
We
not?
do, and I can put it on that agenda for the workshop. So there were some other pieces Pete was going to explain about it. So hopefully by then, maybe that can be washed out.
Yeah,
And if so, I'll add it to that agenda tomorrow before 5:45.
See what the rest have to say. I don't object to that.
Okay.
That gives me enough time.
All right, so,
As a reminder, that meeting for us is on Tuesday, May 27th, your next regularly scheduled meeting because of the holiday.
yeah.
But
We may do it on the budget workshop. I may add this to that agenda.
Yes.
Okay. The 30th, 5:45. All right. Any further discussion? It's motion made to defer item A, C, and D. All right, hearing none. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it. All righty, so we will move to item B. Item B this afternoon are action items for new business. We'll discuss and approve, discussion and approval of ordinance 2025.002, an ordinance setting referendum on the question of a change in the form of government. Sponsoring member Rich McKendrick, would you? Any opening comments, sir? All right, here.
Me, sir?
Yes, sir.
No, sir, this request came from me through the attorney. This was ready for our agenda. Pete, you're gonna have to help me back in February, I believe. And because Mr. Driggers was coming on at the exit of an administrator, Mr. Driggers asked that we pull that back off the agenda. So after some lengthy discussions, both with Mr. Driggers and other members of council, it is back on the agenda this evening.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion from members of council on this ordinance? Okay. Hearing, wait, no, I'm sorry. Citizens comment. Thank you, ma'am. All right, before there's a call to vote, we do have two citizens that wish to speak on this ordinance this afternoon, which is in first reading. First, I will call to the podium. Please make sure the microphone is on the podium, and clearly state your name, Mr. Former Mayor Keith Bailey.
Good evening. My name is Keith Bailey. I've been a resident of Blythewood since 19. So the response is, or at least my observation is, if they're not happy with this form of government we have, why they even run in the first place? I mean, that was never an issue. It's never been an issue in the past. And then we have some council members, they got reelected in the same government, but now they're spearheading that we need to change it. That just doesn't make sense to me. There seems to be something else, that's some undercurrents here that we're really not talking about. We're talking about efficiency and things of that nature. You get good people, smart people, guess what? They're pretty efficient, and they can get the job done. So I think that we don't have so much going on in Blythewood that we need to change the form of government. I think it's the personalities involved, to be perfectly frank with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Mr. Jerry Reed. Sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Riga or Rega, I take either one, so it depends. I've lived in 29016 for 24 years. And now I'm a citizen of the town of Blythewood for 2 weeks. So this is my welcoming. Another little debate and discussion about some things that some people agree and some don't. I have not made my decision, so I'm not here to say it's right, wrong, or either one. What I do want to say is we need to do our homework. I just found out about this event this morning, and I've already gone in and read some articles, and there's pros and cons of both ways of government. Whether you have the mayor, administrator, you could find people argue either way. So my first question or first argument would be let's do our homework. To say we've talked to administrators from other towns or we've talked to current or former administrators, well, that sounds a little biased. That's like asking my kids if they like candy. They're going to say yes. We love it that way. And if I say we're taking away Easter, oh, you can't do that. We need the candy. So let's again do our homework, because I hate to say it, and I don't want to degrade or argue with any issues, but the opinion is that this organization doesn't do a good job of doing their homework. And I've seen that for 20 years. So that's the part that needs to change. The form of government doesn't need to change. The way we handle government needs to change. Okay? So again, you may have a different opinion, and that's fine, but we all have opinions. And also, to say this is not a political decision, I think we've all heard the phrase, perception is reality. Well, the perception is that this issue is political. So to say otherwise, do you think these people out here are stupid? I don't think so. Well, I apologize for them. You know, and again, for being here only 2 weeks and jumping into this is ridiculous. The other thing I want to mention that came out earlier today was this is going to be a special election. Why do we need a special election for an issue, and then we're going to have another election a few weeks later? Once again, and I hate to beat this to a pulp, but we're wasting money again. Why do we keep wasting money time and time again with talk about accountability? Where's the accountability for that? So again, my address is to the council, but my address is also to the people out here. I've read some articles already this afternoon, and there are pros and cons. It may be the right thing to do. I don't know. But I'm going to do a little homework before I make a decision. And I'm not going to rely on the opinions of people who have already made up their minds on things. So, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'll close it at that, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, and I see you, sir, walking up. Please, I don't have your name. Just state your name for the record.
Mr. Mayor, Council, and my apologies. I guess I didn't know the protocol that I had to sign up for speaking on this matter. My name is Ed Sanchez. I've been a resident of Blythewood for 13 years now when my wife and I decided to pick this township. I've been in leadership positions. I came down here because I accepted a vice president job for a local health insurance company. I've been a president. I've been a vice president. I understand how business works, and I believe that in government world, everyone's following what the new administration is doing with respect to DOGE. There is a desire for us to hold our leaders accountable, whether that's mayor, whether that's governor, whether that's president, right? And we want things to run efficiently. So I didn't have prepared speech, but I highlighted a couple of things on this pamphlet that was provided to me. And I gotta tell you that some of these things do resonate with me, and they should resonate with all of you here if you care about Blythewood Township. It's growing, we need to look to the future, and we need to change. And the jobs that I've accepted, that's been my mandate. Change is not easy, and sometimes looking back to the good old days sounds great, but you need to look forward. We are a growing township, and I gotta tell you, I'm looking to retire in a couple of years, and with the change and growth that's going on in Blythewood, and you read the papers about, feels like reality TV in terms of, I agree there might be some personality conflicts and those type of things, but do we really want to be led by that type of environment? We need to grow up. We've got a major corporation like Scout coming in here. There are things that we need to get to relative to business. So here are the words that I underlined relative to this, that I'm not sure that we're seeing that in today's form of government. Is it effective? Is it transparent? Is it responsible? Is it accountable? I mean, these are all the things that these folks all ran for. I've never been involved in politics until a couple of years ago, when I decided, if I live here, I need to be more involved. And one of the things that I do believe in terms of this form of government is that it's about the people. It's about the citizens and dealing with citizens' concerns in a collaborative, cooperative, and highly communicative manner. These folks, they really need to be dealing exclusively to the delivery of services to the residents. That's us. We should be running this town. They run through us. It's not about a power monger person. It's not about all these politics. They need to get along, and I think this is a form of government that will allow that to happen. So finally, look, I've served on boards, never wanted to be a politician and never will. Coming from Philadelphia where there's a lot of corruption, I want no parts of it. But in my mind, if you want to serve the people, it's about servant leadership. It's about focusing on prioritizing the needs of us, the citizens, rather than seeking personal power or recognition. It should emphasize teamwork, inclusivity, and foster a supportive environment where every voice is heard. And finally, if you're a true leader, you can be successful and influential in achieving the right outcomes in any form of government. So, listen, with all due respect, the prior speakers, you're right, we do need to do more due diligence and find out more, ask the right questions. And to the former mayor, all due respect, hey, if I was a mayor, I'd want to be all powerful and all authoritative. So I get why you like what you had. But you know what? No. Well, it's 5 people that we select, not one. Yes, the mayor is the lead, It's a quarterback.
Sir,
It's-
I
I just wanna
understand, sir, but
respond.
we don't want to do the
No, no,
debates back and
I
forth
hear
with the
you.
audience.
I just want to respond, because you
Yes.
say, why make the change? Look, in any team, yes, the mayor could be the quarterback, but you need other players. You got, to your point, a lot of smart people, let them do their jobs. So let's do that.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
My name's Geraldo Cruzado. I grew up in South Carolina. Started fifth grade back in the 60s, okay? My wife got here in 59. So South Carolina is our home. I've been living in Blythewood since, we bought a property here in 2011, and our house is, we moved into our house in 2014. But we voted for all these people up here. And this new form of government would be more representative of what we the people want. When you talk about the corruption that we see across all government, across our nation, is because you have that single point of failure. When you have everybody accountable, everybody responsible, everybody working together, and more representative of what we want. And that's what this new form of government is going to bring us. So I hope y'all take it in consideration and really think about it, because I think it's a good idea.
So you'd rather somebody be in control that doesn't even live in Blythewood, that has no knowledge of Blythewood, is that what you're saying?
No.
So, thank you, sir. Thank you. Ma'am, please. Ma'am.
Hello. My name is Trish Hovis. I'm a 20-year resident of Blythewood, South Carolina. I also work for the state. I've worked for the state for over 15 years, and I also believe in doing your homework, so maybe you'll have to help me get educated. But in the council manager form of government that you're proposing, so I'm responsible for a budget, and so if I hold a budget meeting, and if my budget is askew, and I show up, my budget's not prepared, somebody's gonna ask me a question, I'm gonna have to answer to it. So that's my first concern. Might that be something that would be handled more efficiently with the council manager arrangement? But my main point really is the new business. There's 4 topics on here, and we're only discussing one. So if I was holding a meeting and my goal was to have a discussion with everybody that took the time to attend, I would be prepared, and I would make sure that the attendees had received the information that they needed to participate in order to make a decision and govern properly. So I'm just curious, Councilman Brock stated that at 3 o'clock, which is about 3 hours before this meeting began, that you had not seen some of this information, and I wanted to know if that's aligned with I'm sure there's probably a state law that has to do with disseminating information to council members. So I wanted to know if that was in line, or if this is atypical, having 4 items of action to discuss, yet we're only discussing one. Thanks.
Ms. Ovis, while it's not a Q&A session, I don't think there's any requirement to pass along supporting documentation to agenda items. So as far as complying with state statute, I don't believe there's any violation in there.
Okay.
It's a courtesy to give you more than a couple of hours to review something that you're asked to cast an educated and informed vote on. That's my position.
Thank you very much.
I would like to add to that. I also think it's to the benefit of us as council members, as well as to the audience and to our citizens, that we are asked with regards to what items, or presented with a draft prior to a final agenda is just provided 24 hours prior to the meeting, and that's actually less than 24 business hours prior to the meeting. So I think, yes, there is definitely some improvement with regards to being inclusive of others as to what it needs to have on the agenda, or even an idea of what will be presented on the agenda. So that way we could probably get through less frustration that we have been having.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Yes, Yes, sir.
Ms. Hovis, in regards to one of those action items, that would be action item C, discussion and approval of ordinance 2025.003, an ordinance establishing a curfew for minors in the town of Blythewood. A vote of that magnitude needs discussion, open discussion on information that we have had, we've been able to review, and we can speak on, educate. I don't want to put a curfew on the town of Blythewood on paperwork that I received at 3 o'clock. So I'd be open to deferring this as long as we have to defer it to get it right. You can't simply put an action item down and say, okay, here's the information we're going to discuss and approve. We'll just keep pushing it down the road until
And
we
that's
get it
my
right.
point, they should be realistic and attainable. SMART goals are attainable and realistic, and this is, that's pretty, business 101, but, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me, I got my agenda on Monday. You guys didn't get an agenda on Monday?
No, hold on. We're gonna close that session.
There was no ordinance included in our agenda, ma'am, nor yours.
That's the problem.
All right, you good? Okay. All right, if you,
I got my agenda on Monday, and there were several questions that I had about what was on the agenda. I called a couple people up, and they answered my questions. So why couldn't the council members do the same thing that I did? If you don't know what's on the agenda, if you're having trouble understanding what the ordinance might say or might read like or whatever, call somebody up. Go see them, go talk to them. It just so happens that I happen to know that our mayor right there is very accessible and walked me through a couple of the questions that I had. So why can't you guys do that?
Our ordinance didn't come from the mayor, it came from the attorney.
So what? But you couldn't call the attorney? I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get it. This is like watching the Looney Tunes.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Don't worry about it. We're good. Don't worry. All right. Any discussion from council on ordinance 2025-002? No. Hearing none, I do have one question for this ordinance before it's called a vote. Cost-wise, what's the cost of this to run a special election? Have y'all ran the numbers?
I don't know the answer to that, Mr. Mayor, but I would assume it's probably less than $20,000.
Okay. And is this something that can wait until the November election to save on some of the money from a special election? Because my understanding of a special election for us, the last one that we paid for, it was about $6,200 it would cost just to have one question on the ballot. Is this something that can wait until the November next election this year?
With all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I would say no.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's my question. Do we have a call to vote?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2025.0022.
All right, thank you. Motion made to approve ordinance 2025.002. I'll be looking for a second.
First reading.
First reading of ordinance 2025.002. First reading. Do I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second.
All right, second made. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call, Ms. Durst.
Councilwoman Page,
Yes.
Councilman Brock,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fripp,
Yes.
Councilman McKenrick,
Yes.
Mayor Griffin?
No, thank you. Vote passed. First reading passes 4-1. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may ask for instructions moving forward, is it council's desire that we would do a public hearing prior to second reading on this item? And is it your expectation that second reading would move to your next regularly scheduled meeting? And so would we hold a public hearing on that same evening prior to second reading at your regularly scheduled meeting? Just want to make sure that I'm understanding that, so we will advertise that appropriately.
Yes.
Very good.
All right, next item is old business. Discussion and approval of ordinance 2025.001, an ordinance hearing adopting text and map amendments to the land development ordinance known as the LDO for all parcels and property located within the town of Blythewood corporate limits. Pete.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and council members. On this item, which was given first reading, I think, at the regular meeting 2 months ago, and then it was deferred at the last meeting because at the last regular meeting, I presented numerous changes to council that I guess were done after first reading. And then there were some questions from some citizens at that last meeting. I think there was, it was deferred also so we could give citizens some time to ask further questions about the LDO. I think that this LDO and a theme I'm sort of hearing tonight is to do our homework and to consider these things before jumping into anything. The LDO, as everybody knows, is a huge piece of legislation that will completely replace the current zoning ordinance. So, like I said, I am asking that council postpone indefinitely the second reading on this until the next meeting. There are some issues with the zoning map that is currently on the town's website. I hope everybody in the public knows that this draft ordinance is up on the town's website, is available to make comments on the town's website, and the new proposed zoning map is also on the town's website. But just so that we can do our homework and make sure that everything is tight with this and we can figure out when this ordinance would take effect. Because even if it was given second reading tonight, I think as we discussed 2 months ago, there needs to be some lead time to give training to staff on the administration and application of this brand new ordinance. I'm aware of another municipality in Richland County that enacted a brand new wholesale zoning ordinance a few years ago, and they did the same thing. They gave it second reading, but they kept having to move the effective date of it back just because of putting it into effect and making sure everyone understood how to put it into effect. There's no problems with this LDO. I'm just requesting that we have some more time, staff-wise and legal-wise, to make sure that everything is buttoned up on it and that the map is correct and that everything is ready to go, and we can figure out an effective date for this ordinance when second reading is given. Open to any questions, certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd make that in the form of a motion.
All right, thank you. Motion made to defer indefinitely.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Council.
At this time, I don't have anyone signed up for open citizens comment, but as I always do, I will pause for a second. Yes, ma'am.
She didn't have a mic.
We're gonna get you a microphone. Hold on one second.
All right, thank you. Yeah, not quite understanding why we're postponing security at the park and a curfew. I mean, I don't know when the mayor got his answers from an attorney or anything else, but is that something we need to keep postponing? I mean, keep deferring it, keep putting it off? These are the kids here in town. These are our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. I mean, is this something we need to keep putting off? We don't know that something's gonna happen again tonight. But we're still gonna keep putting this off because we just got the thing from the attorney. Where was everybody at when Sheriff Lott was here and all his deputies were here? All of y'all weren't here. I was. I heard what he said. That's what I thought.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yes, certainly, Mr. Mayor, if you want me to just chime in on sort of what's going on with the possible curfew ordinance. I think, Mr. Mayor, at maybe it was the last regular meeting, you did propose a curfew ordinance. We had some discussion about it at that time. I have discovered there are a number of jurisdictions in South Carolina that do have juvenile curfew ordinances, but they all look a little bit different, as you would imagine. There are possible constitutional and legal challenges to juvenile curfew ordinances. So again, I'm sticking with that same theme about homework and making sure if something is done on that it is right. But I think as council is aware, and Mr. Mayor, I hope you're aware, you know, the work is being done on a possible juvenile curfew ordinance. So I mean, certainly I'm welcome to any questions from council on that.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you, ma'am. Alrighty. I will close open citizens comment.
Mr. Mayor, just one thing for you probably. Is there going to be an update or discussion on, again, the violence at Movies in the Park this past Saturday night and where we're headed before the next Movies in the Park?
Yes, sir. I will ask respectfully that we hold off. Pete and myself are in a conversation with the juvenile solicitor on adding some extra possible charges to those individuals that were here fighting. So let's wait until we get that, and then we can have all our information.
Yes, sir. I'm not asking about charges for the individuals arrested. I'm asking, what is this community going to do regarding the next Movies in the Park? Because the shooting at Waffle House, there were now 5 arrests. Didn't stop Movies in the Park violence with multiple arrests. There'll be more people to be arrested at Movies in the Park. We as a town deserve to give our citizens direction on what's going to happen with a standing event through the summer referred to as Movies in the Park. That's not a charge issue. That's an event safety issue.
So, Councilmember Kendrick, what would you like to do, sir?
I would like to move that we postpone indefinitely Movies in the Park until we get a handle on the security at Delco Meadow.
All right.
And I'll be glad to make that in the form of a motion.
All right, I have hold on one second. What about 4th of July, those events?
Yes, sir. I would move that we postpone future Movies in the Park, Juneteenth, and Rockin' Red, White, and Blue until we have a handle on security in an open park in downtown Blythewood.
Okay.
There's security there, I don't understand the problem.
Okay. So we have a motion now to. We have a motion on. Go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead.
We have a motion to postpone Movies in the Park, Juneteenth, 4th of July, and what else, sir?
Those were the big ones.
Okay, you got it. Okay. All right, looking for a second on that motion made.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman McKenrick, so how, is the council gonna have discussion about it? Are we just kind of postponing indefinitely? Are we circling back in 30 days?
No, I'm going to add this to our budget workshop meeting. We should have a word from the solicitor on those, and I know Councilman McKendrick stand by. We should have that and some other information leading forward so that we can have that discussion as a council as part of the workshop. The only question I have in discussion,
I don't believe it's been seconded yet, Pete.
yeah, I'm looking at Pete.
Well, maybe Councilman Brock was going to say the same thing. Point of order here.
This is not proper.
From
Yep.
your parliamentarian, this is not on the agenda. I think the agenda would need to be amended to first add this item before any motion would be proper, especially in the form of this motion. It sounds like it is a final action as well. And a final action on something that is not on an agenda requires a 2/3 vote, supermajority to amend the agenda, plus a finding of exigent or emergency circumstances before an item with final action can be added to the agenda.
Yes, sir, I agree, Mr. Mayor. And I appreciated your press release on the increased security for movies in the park. Our agenda was sent out, as Ms. Young pointed out, in time. This event didn't happen until Saturday. The arrests weren't clear until late Sunday, well past the time that I could have asked for an amendment on the agenda. And again, my concern is not with the charges with the individuals who have been arrested. My concern is that we don't end up with a Blythewood High School student dead. So I would ask, if it's the flavor of this council, that we vote on amending the agenda. We take action for the safety of the citizens of Blythewood tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. And I have no problem with that. So no, hold on. Hold on. Yeah. To the agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, I'm helping Ms. Fruit. I am looking for, is it the,
I'll make a second so we can get to discussion.
okay, any
I'll motion to make
discussion?
a second.
Second made.
Mr. Mayor, he's asking for discussion about last Saturday.
Hang on one second, everyone. So there's second made on that. Now it's discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
This is obviously an issue that it appears has gotten the natives a little restless. I feel that it would be proper to move this particular item, which is borderline an appropriations item. And personally, I feel like you could take administrative action on this, actually, without requiring a council vote, at least on movies in the park. I would actually recommend that we move it to Wednesday so that we can properly advertise and have any interested parties in attendance that want to discuss these postponements or cancellations. That, I believe, would be the best course of action. And don't confuse the fact that we have postponed a few things to a lack of caring. That's the biggest mistake people in this room can make, that we don't care. That is false. And while we may bicker, we're still a family. Families don't always get along. So I would recommend that we properly advertise and have, if people want to come in.
So, I can agree to that. Stand by one second. I'm going to do what's not parliamentary and let, yes, sir.
Again, I'm undecided on the whole mayor council thing, but here's a good example. If you had a strong mayor making a quick decision on a very important issue, which is safety. Any company I've ever worked for, you know what their number one issue was? Safety. Yes. And here we are arguing and debating and discussing issues. I'll end right there. But again, that's a good example of what can be done fast and simple as opposed
Thank you. I would offer one better, because this may require some length of time with citizens, give everybody input. I really think that this is a community piece when it comes to this. And I do want to take kind of Sheriff Lott's approach to this thing and involve more and more of you in here, giving us, helping us with solutions. We have a model ordinance, but maybe it doesn't work. But giving you all the leverage to sit in here and we have open discussion to talk about how to fix the issues and problems we have in Blythewood. So maybe to your point, sir, this is a good idea to bring the Sheriff's Department back in. If we get this many people plus some, we need the Sheriff's Department back in here to assist and answer some of those tough questions that's not in our wheelhouse to do. And then we can form our legislation and policies as we're still redlining, as Pete put up. So I'm fine with moving it to like Thursday. We do Wednesday, Thursday. Yes. That give proper time to get the Sheriff's Department and that team in here.
Can we not inquire about Wednesday for them to be here in order for, I think since it's already planned, it's, let's go ahead and add those items to the agenda and we can have discussion around it, and we just put time parameters around it. With regards to approving a ordinance for a curfew that has not been able to read through, and when it was not provided until 3 p.m. Again, going back to making sure that we've had enough time to look and answer and ask any questions. But I think Wednesday is an appropriate time, and especially if we can get the Richland County to also be here and support and answer any questions that us or the public may have.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
We are about halfway through the proposed budget for 25-26.
Yep.
And our last budget workshop is that special called meeting at 5:45 on Wednesday. And we have just piled 3 major items on top of that budget workshop that is supposed to be presented to you by the end of May for first reading. I just don't know how that's feasibly possible to do all that Wednesday.
Well, sir, that's why I just talked about adding that to Thursday. We just add another meeting just to talk about that one issue.
I understand, sir, but we debated the 30th meeting to get this council here, and it was tough. Actually, we're going to do it without our administrator because of scheduling issues.
So what do you suggest, sir?
I suggest you find a meeting date that the council can meet and discuss these issues.
Okay. What date can council go through your calendars right now? Let's figure out a date. Just to talk about the security issues, curfew, anything law enforcement, public safety for the town. That's the only item that will be on that agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I can do the 5th, the 7th.
5th, yep. So 7th, what's your other
Does that
date?
work for other council members?
Ms. Page says no for the 7th. Any other dates? May 6th, May 8th, and May 14th.
I can do the 8th.
8th, no good for Ms. Page. What about the 14th?
12th, 14th.
14th is our third.
12th? What about the 12th? Ms. Page, good for the 12th. What about the rest of the group?
What date, what Saturday, Ms. Page, when is the next Movies in the Park? Well, it can't be the 21st.
Yeah, we said the 12th.
May 24th. Okay. Yes, I was just making sure our meeting was
It's
before
prior.
the next
mhm.
movies in the park.
So May 12th works. Give me a
Yes.
time. That, their stuff kind of, let's just go ahead and then we can kind of move them. All right, I'll move them.
Good Lord, somebody cussed me out in an email for moving on a planning commission.
I'll take it. If that happens, send that email to me.
The 12th.
No, I'm just saying that if I move a meeting to do this is more important in my opinion, and I think the opinion of the public. So the 12th, give me a time on the 12th. 6 p.m. That,
Does that, Jordan, do we know if that works for the manor?
we'll no. Kim is, okay. Okay.
Then we can't do that.
No, we need
You could have a big
bigger,
group. 19th?
Kim, see what, yes, ma'am, just ask her for available dates.
Well, if you're saying that this is more important, then why can't you on the 12th?
Well,
You could switch the dates. Take the 30th for the safety issue if the sheriff can do it. And then we've got to get that budget workshop down or you're not gonna have first reading. Okay. I'm just telling you, we have the 30th.
if you want to do the 30th, we can just swap it and do the safety meeting on the 30th. If that works for the group, because we know that date works, okay?
I'm available certainly to do that.
So is the safety meeting dependent upon?
But the question is, can the sheriff pull that
I'll
off
get,
in 2
I'll
days?
get some of his team folks, they'll be here. Yeah, we'll do that.
Oh, hold on. Is the 30th available in this building? Yeah, see, that's not available because we were already in town hall.
That is.
Come on, Kim, you gotta do better.
Kim, which dates are available on there? Y'all give dates again.
5th, 19th, 21st.
You know what?
19th? Mr. Mayor, could we move the BAR to town hall?
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. We'll move BAR.
Because that could produce a
And
large
what date?
crowd.
I'm sorry, I was negotiating with Mayor
19th.
Pro Tem. 19. Okay. So is the 19th good? I know Ms. Page. 19th. Okay. All right. Sounds like the 19th work.
And
6 p.m. Okay. Please. I'll get with Kirk in the morning. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, just lock that in so nobody books it. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to Sheriff Lott, I know, I can't speak for him, and I'm sure he's here, but he's already been here. And he had about 4 or 5 deputies, just like Ms. Merrick said. And I don't know if there were 2 or 3 people here to listen, and if you listen to his 20-minute news conference after they made the arrest of the young men, who, by the way, were not minors, who did the shooting, alleged to have done the shooting at Waffle House, he tells us what to do. I mean, this is a societal problem. It's not, it is a huge issue, and I don't
ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, if it sounds like there is a date that is decided on, just to sort of wrap a bow on this, our ordinances require special called meetings to be either called by the mayor or by a vote of council. So if we could just get a quick motion that sets the date and the topics for that special called meeting, I think is the proper procedure.
So if I call it,
You can call it on your own, Mr. Mayor, yes.
okay. Do y'all want to? Well, then that's what I need to check on. I need to check on the dates, and we really need time to advertise this. And Ms. Hovers, you hear that we're going to do the meeting, so help us, everybody out here, help advertise and get people in these seats, so that we're not wasting those resources. Y'all.
To avoid any confusion, I want to make sure that we understand what are the agenda topics for that meeting.
For the 19th, so the 19th, we will be having a community discussion related to public safety issues in relation to movies in the park, the Waffle House shooting, and Blythewood Park had an incident. So any and all incidents in the town of Blythewood. And Pete will clean that up into the legalese way.
And the ordinance.
And the ordinance.
And the possible ordinance.
And the upcoming future movies in the park, Juneteenth, and Rock and Red, White, and Blue. I mean, that's what started this whole conversation.
Right. And when I say ordinance, I mean the possible juvenile curfew ordinance.
Yes.
But if the town holds a movies in the park, we're going to say no one under the age of 18 can stay for a movie in the park. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about specific events that we have on our calendar that happen after dark. I was on the phone with Miss Page during movies in the park. She said there's a large group here, but they're just over by the playground. It was 8:41, and I said, be careful because at sundown, you could have a problem. 6 minutes later, she called me and she said, we got a problem. And there were other council members here. So if we're hosting something in our town after dark, we're inviting an issue. We know it's happened now multiple times. So not only do we need to talk to Sheriff Lott about the charges that are pending on people who were arrested, we need to take responsibility for events that we are putting on the calendar, funding and promoting. I hope to do that at the May 19th meeting. I tried, but
Yeah, so in the budget workshop, I'm gonna actually put that in there so that if it's the desire of the council, and that's just how I'm phrasing it to the desire of council is the council that will be on the workshop budget. That should be item, and then the 19th, we'll have the open discussion to include the public in on that whole discussion so that we as a community come up with a plan on how to combat this issue that we're having in the community.
Right, Mr. Mayor, because as I understood Councilman Brock's motion from earlier in the meeting, those other 3 action items were postponed indefinitely, which they can go on the next agenda. They can go on the Wednesday night's agenda for April 30th. Yeah, April 30th. Okay.
Yeah. So are we good with Wednesday adding the question about counseling events in the park on our budget workshop to have an action item? If so, Pete, go ahead and write that down so we can put that in the agenda. Okay, thank you, sir. All right. All right, any other discussion on? Okay. Hearing none. We will be moving to executive session next, pursuant to South Carolina Code 30-4-70. 2 items of discussion in executive session: receipt of legal advice concerning pending claims, Richland County versus South Carolina Department of Transportation in the town of Blythewood for abandonment and closure of Locklear Road. The next item we will discuss in the executive session is discussion of negotiations and incident proposed contractual agreements, interim town administrator. I'll be looking for a motion to move to executive session.
So moved.
Motion made, looking for a second. Second made, any discussion? Yes, sir, with the 5-minute recess, hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Aye.